The transport ship shook lightly as it docked into the massive skyport. Aaron sat near the small round window, his hands pressed against the armrest as the docking clamps locked in place. He had traveled for weeks from Earth, and finally, he had reached the place everyone talked about. Neon Skyport, the brightest hub of trade, culture, and life at the far edge of the galaxy. When the ship doors opened, Aaron stepped out with a single bag slung over his shoulder. He wore a simple jacket patched in places, and old boots that had seen too many roads, but his eyes were wide with wonder. Before him stretched endless corridors, glowing signs in languages he could not read, ships of every shape lined up in docking bays, and beings from dozens of species walking side by side. The walls shimmered with neon light, bright pink, blue, and green reflecting on polished floors. The air smelled strange, like spice, oil, and something sweet. He paused, taking it all in. For a boy who had grown up on a dusty farming town back on Earth, this place felt like stepping into a dream of colors and noise. A large alien with 4 arms brushed past him, speaking quickly into a communicator. 2 children with scaled skin chased each other, their laughter echoing. A robot rolled by, carrying a crate stacked higher than itself. Aaron smiled nervously. He felt small, like a pebble in a rushing river. Still, he reminded himself why he was here. He had always been good with machines, always fixing broken harvesters or repairing neighbors' old shuttles. He wanted to use that skill out here, in a place where ships came and went from every star. If he could find work, maybe he could build a new life. But standing in the middle of the skyport's main hall, he realized he didn't even know where to begin. A screen above flashed different announcements in bright symbols, most unreadable to him. He squinted, trying to find the human translation line. His bag shifted on his shoulder, nearly slipping off as he turned in circles, lost. That was when he heard a calm voice beside him. First time here? Aaron looked up. Standing a step away was a tall young woman, though clearly not human. Her skin had a soft silver-blue glow under the neon lights. Her eyes were bright green like polished jade, and her dark hair was tied loosely behind her head. She wore a simple dark coat with a badge pinned near her shoulder. Yes, Aaron said, his voice a little tight with nerves. I just arrived. I don't even know where to start. She gave a small smile. That's normal. Neon Skyport can feel like a storm the first time you step in. She held out a small device, pressing a button. A clear screen lit up with maps in several languages. Here, you're human, yes? English translation should be active. Aaron blinked at the glowing screen. Thank you. Mira, she said, finishing for him. He nodded. I'm Aaron. They shook hands, though Mira's grip was gentle, almost testing the unfamiliar human gesture. Do you have a place to stay? She asked. Aaron hesitated. Not yet. I thought I'd figure it out once I landed. Her expression softened. Brave, but maybe not wise. She tapped the map. There are quarters for new arrivals on the East Ring. Basic but safe. You should register there before the night cycle begins. Otherwise, you'll be wandering the market at midnight, and that is not the best first experience. Aaron chuckled awkwardly. Good to know. I'll take your advice. As they walked, Mira pointed out landmarks. A long row of shining towers stretched across one side of the hall. Embassies of different species. The loud marketplace below was filled with neon banners, food stalls, and trade counters. Docking bays stretched far into the distance, each filled with ships humming with energy. Aaron's eyes darted everywhere. It feels alive, like the whole universe is here. It is, Mira said softly. Every species passes through these halls. Every deal, every journey begins or ends here. Some see only chaos. Others, like you, see wonder. He glanced at her, surprised. How do you know what I see? Her green eyes flickered with amusement. You're staring at everything like a child in a storybook. Heat rose to his face. Guess I am, she laughed quietly. The sound was soft, not mocking. They reached the East Ring, where a wide glass wall overlooked the outside view. Aaron stopped in his tracks. Beyond the glass stretched open space, stars glittering endlessly. Ships of every shape drifted in and out, neon lights marking their paths. The view stole his breath. Beautiful, he whispered. Yes, Mira agreed, though when Aaron turned, he found she wasn't looking at the stars. She was watching him, her eyes curious, as if trying to read something in his expression. When he noticed, she quickly turned back to the glass. You'll get used to it, she said. The stars, the ships, the lights. Soon it will feel normal. Maybe, Aaron said, still staring. but I think I'll always find it amazing. They walked again until they reached the registration office. Mira guided him through the process, speaking with the clerk in a fast alien tongue before switching back to English for him. Soon Aaron had a small keycard for a simple room. "Thank you," he said sincerely. "I wouldn't have figured this out alone." Mira shrugged lightly. "It's my work. I'm a translator here. Helping newcomers is part of it." "Still," Aaron said, "I appreciate it." Mira tilted her head, studying him for a moment. "You are different from most humans I've met. Many arrive here acting proud or restless. You are quiet, watching, learning." Aaron scratched the back of his neck. "Guess I'm just trying not to mess up." She smiled again, that same calm expression. "That is a good start." Before she left, she pointed down the hall. "The East Market is 2 levels below. If you want food, you'll find many choices there. But be careful. Some stalls sell meals that humans cannot eat." Aaron grinned. "Good warning. I'll ask before I try anything glowing." Mira chuckled softly, her silver blue face bright under the neon lights. Wise. Then she stepped away, her coat trailing slightly behind her as she disappeared into the crowd. Aaron stood still, watching her go. He felt something strange, a warmth he could not name. It wasn't just gratitude. It was something deeper, like a spark waiting to grow. That night, in his small new room, Aaron lay on the narrow bed. The walls were plain, the hum of engines constant. But he couldn't sleep. His mind kept returning to the green-eyed girl who had helped him. In a place filled with noise, neon and strangers, Mira had been the first to make him feel less lost. And though he had only just arrived, Aaron had a quiet feeling that his journey at the neon skyport had only begun. The next morning, Aaron woke to the steady hum of engines vibrating through the walls. His room was small, barely larger than a storage box, but the bed was soft enough and the neon lights from the outer corridor slipped in through the thin shutters. He stretched, washed quickly, and stepped out with a new determination. Today he would try to find work. The skyport was alive again, busier than ever. Crowds of beings moved through the wide halls like rivers of color and sound. Merchants shouted, machines beeped, and ships rumbled as they lifted off or landed. Aaron clutched the strap of his bag nervously, his eyes darting between the endless stalls of the market. He stopped near a row of vendors selling spare ship parts. Strange coils, glowing crystals, and pieces of metal larger than he was lay on display. Aaron examined them closely, recognizing some but not others. A group of mechanics bargained loudly with a scaled merchant, their voices sharp. Aaron took a step forward, wanting to ask if anyone needed help, but his words caught in his throat. Everyone seemed so confident, so sure of their place here. He felt like an outsider again, lost in the rush of neon and voices. "Looking for work?" The voice startled him. He turned and found Mira standing a few steps away, holding a tablet covered in scrolling text. Her silver blue skin gleamed under the shifting market lights, and her green eyes carried that same calm focus as before. Aaron let out a breath of relief. "Mira, you're here again." "I said I work here," she replied with a small smile. "The skyport keeps me busy." She glanced at the parts he had been staring at. "You understand these?" "A little," Aaron admitted. "I fixed ships back on Earth, small ones. Old broken shuttles mostly, but I don't know half of what's here." Mira tilted her head, intrigued. "Show me." Aaron hesitated, then stepped closer to a long metal cylinder lying on the stall. "That's a thruster coil," he said, brushing his hand gently against it. "Old design, maybe 10 years. It burns fuel faster but overheats easily. Needs balancing fins to work right." The merchant behind the stall raised a brow at him. "Human, you know engines?" "Some," Aaron said cautiously. "Not bad," Mira added, her lips curving into a soft grin. They walked further, stopping at another table where broken panels were stacked. Mira pointed at one. "What is that?" Aaron leaned over. "Power converter. If you use this, energy leaks out of the side. Dangerous unless you shield it." He looked up at her, noticing the amused gleam in her eyes. "You're testing me." "Of course," she said simply. "You said you fix ships. I want to see if it's true." Aaron chuckled nervously but continued. Soon he was explaining parts with more confidence, talking about how some worked, how others failed, and even how a few could be patched with simple tricks. Mira listened carefully, asking sharp questions that pushed him to think. For the first time since arriving, Aaron felt useful. His words mattered, his skills visible. You speak like someone who has spent a lifetime with machines, Mira said when they paused near a food stall. Aaron shrugged. Machines don't judge. Her eyes softened. But still, it's a gift. Many can use tools. Few can understand. Before he could respond, Mira waved him toward the food stall. Steam rose from trays filled with glowing fruits, spiced rolls, and small bowls of hot soup. Hungry? She asked. Aaron eyed the strange food nervously. Some dishes pulsed faintly with light, while others smelled like burning metal. I don't know if I can eat half of this. Mira laughed quietly. I'll choose for you. She spoke quickly to the vendor, who handed her a warm bread-like roll stuffed with vegetables. She passed it to Aaron, safe for humans. I checked. He took a bite, surprised at the rich, slightly sweet taste. This is good. See? Not everything glowing will hurt you. They found a seat near the edge of the market, where the neon signs above flickered like falling stars. For a while, they ate in silence, watching the endless flow of people. Finally, Aaron spoke. Why did you help me yesterday? You didn't have to. Mira thought for a moment. Because I know what it feels like to arrive here with nothing. When I first came, I was lost too. Someone helped me, so I help others now. Where are you from? Aaron asked carefully. Her gaze drifted for a moment, far away. A world called Terea. Far from here. Silver deserts, green seas. Beautiful, but not home anymore. And why did you leave? Her smile was faint. That is a story for another day. She looked back at him. And you? Why are you here, Aaron from Earth? He paused, searching for words. I wanted more. Back home, life was quiet, too quiet. Fixing broken harvesters, patching roofs. Useful, but small. I wanted to see more, do more. The skyport felt like the right place. Mira studied him for a moment. And does it feel right now? Aaron glanced at the glowing crowd, then back at her. It does, mostly because you've made it easier. For the first time, Mira looked away, a faint color rising in her cheeks. You are kind to say that. They spent the afternoon wandering. Mira introduced him to a few ship owners she knew, translating when the language grew too fast. Most shook their heads politely. No work, no room, maybe later. But one elderly trader paused, watching Aaron explain how he could repair a broken stabilizer. The trader promised to call if he needed help in the coming week. It wasn't much, but to Aaron it felt like a small victory. As the day stretched into evening, the skyport lights shifted to softer shades. Neon signs glowed brighter against the dimmed halls, and music floated through the air from hidden speakers. The market changed rhythm, slower but more colorful. Aaron and Mira walked side by side through the glowing walkways. He noticed how easily they had fallen into step, their conversations flowing naturally. They spoke about languages, machines, stories from Earth, and tales from Terea. At one point, Aaron described the night sky back home, where stars sparkled above fields of wheat. Mira listened quietly, her green eyes fixed on him. When he finished, she said softly, Your words make me see it even though I've never been there. Aaron smiled. Maybe one day I can show you. Her gaze lingered for a heartbeat longer before she looked away, her expression unreadable. When they finally reached the East Ring again, Mira stopped near the glass wall where they had stood the night before. Outside, dozens of ships floated, their engines glowing like fireflies in the black of space. It never gets old, Aaron whispered. No, Mira agreed, though her voice was softer this time. They stood in silence, the neon light painting their faces, the quiet hum of ships filling the air. For Aaron, the moment felt alive, charged with something he could not explain. Mira finally turned. Tomorrow I will be at Docking Bay 12. A friend of mine needs help with his ship. If you wish to work, come there. Aaron's eyes lit up. Really? She nodded. It will not pay much, but it is a start. He grinned, relief and excitement mixing in his chest. I'll be there. Mira gave a faint smile, then began walking away. But before she vanished into the crowd, she glanced back once, her green eyes meeting his. Aaron felt the spark again, small but undeniable. The skyport was vast, noisy, and overwhelming. But in this endless maze of neon and strangers, he had found someone who made it feel less like a storm and more like a beginning. That night, as he lay in his small room again, Aaron thought of Mira's smile, her questions, her quiet laughter, and for the first time since leaving Earth, he felt certain he was in the right place. The next day began with the sound of the skyport alive in every corner. Ships came and went, Engines roaring like thunder in the distance, the neon lights pulsed against metal walls, guiding the endless streams of travelers. Aaron hurried through the crowd, clutching his bag, his heart beating with nervous excitement. Mira had asked him to come to docking bay 12 and he didn't want to be late. The docking bay was busy, filled with cargo crates, hovering lifts, and voices in different languages. A medium-sized freighter sat in the middle, its hull scratched from long journeys. Mira was already there, standing beside a tall alien trader with dark blue scales. She waved when she saw Aaron. "You came?" she said, sounding pleased. "I said I would," Aaron replied, smiling. The trader gave him a careful look, then spoke in a sharp tone. Mira translated. "This is Joran. He needs help with the stabilizers. He doesn't trust many, but he trusts me. So do good work," Aaron nodded quickly. "I'll do my best." Soon he was crawling under the ship, tools in hand. The stabilizer was old, wires frayed, bolts loose. Aaron lost himself in the work, focusing on each small step. Mira knelt nearby, translating when Joran barked instructions. Hours passed, sweat ran down Aaron's face, but when the engine roared back to life with a steady hum, Joran's eyes widened in surprise. The trader spoke again, slower this time. Mira translated with a smile. "He says he didn't believe a human could do it. But now he believes." Aaron wiped his hands and chuckled. "Glad I could prove him wrong." Joran gave a small nod and handed Mira a pouch of credits. She pressed it into Aaron's hand. "Your first pay at the skyport." Aaron stared at the small pouch, his chest swelling with pride. It wasn't much, but it was something he had earned, proof that he could belong here. After the work, Mira and Aaron walked back through the bustling corridors. The neon lights shimmered on their faces and the air buzzed with music from the markets. Aaron was tired but smiling. "Thank you, Mira," he said. "I couldn't have done this without you." "You could have," she answered, "but it would have taken longer. The skyport is not kind to those who move alone." Aaron thought about that. He was grateful for her presence. She wasn't just a guide. She was becoming a friend. Maybe more, though he didn't dare say it. But the skyport was not as welcoming as it seemed. That evening, as Mira walked with Aaron through the East Ring, a group of alien workers passed by. Their voices dropped into whispers as they glanced at the pair. Some smirked, others frowned. Mira noticed, though she pretended not to. Aaron also caught it and felt unease stir in his chest. Later, when they sat near the glass wall watching ships depart, Aaron asked quietly, "Why were they looking at us like that?" Mira hesitated. Her green eyes flickered, uncertain. "Because many here believe humans should stay with humans, and Terrans should stay with Terrans. They think mixing brings trouble." Aaron frowned. "That's foolish. We're just talking, working together." "To you, maybe," Mira said softly. "But to them, every small thing becomes a story. They see us walking together and they whisper." Aaron leaned back, staring at the stars outside. "Does it bother you?" Mira didn't answer right away. Finally, she said, "I have learned not to care about whispers, but sometimes it makes the path heavier." Aaron wanted to say more, but he stayed silent. He could see the shadow in her eyes, and he didn't want to press too hard. In the days that followed, Aaron found himself working more. With Mira's help, he got small jobs, fixing cargo lifts, repairing docking clamps, patching engines. Each job earned him a little credit, and slowly, his confidence grew, but with every step forward, the whispers followed. Once, while he was repairing a damaged console, two mechanics nearby muttered in their own language, glancing at him and Mira. Mira understood their words, but she only tightened her jaw and said nothing. Later, when Aaron asked, she brushed it off. It doesn't matter. But Aaron could tell it did. One evening, as they walked through the quieter upper levels, Aaron finally asked, "Mira, why do they dislike humans so much?" She slowed, her coat trailing behind her as she stopped beneath a flickering neon sign. "Because humans are new here. Too new. Some fear what is new. Some think humans want to take too much, too fast." Aaron's brow furrowed. "But that's not true." "I know," Mira said softly. "But truth is not always what people see. Fear speaks louder." They walked on, the silence heavy between them. Despite the tension, their bond deepened. Nights often ended with them talking near the glass wall, sharing stories. Mira told him about the deserts of Terrea, where silver sand stretched forever under twin suns. Aaron spoke of Earth's forests, where green leaves danced in the wind. They laughed, teased, and sometimes fell into quiet moments that felt warm and close. But the struggle was there, hidden beneath their words, the outside world, watching, judging. One night, as they left the market, a group of alien traders blocked their path. Their leader, a tall figure with gray skin, sneered. "Human boy, you think you belong here? Fixing ships doesn't make you part of us." Aaron tensed, but before he could speak, Mira stepped forward. Her green eyes blazed. "He belongs as much as anyone. The skyport is—" The trader hissed in his own tongue, words sharp. Mira answered back quickly, her voice calm but firm. The group finally stepped aside, glaring as they walked away. Aaron exhaled. "What did they say?" "Nothing worth remembering," Mira replied, her voice colder than usual. But Aaron saw the way her shoulders were tense, the way her hand clenched at her side. That night, when Aaron lay in bed, he thought about it over and over. Mira had defended him, standing strong against her own people. It made him admire her even more, but it also made him worry. Was he making her life harder just by being near? The next day, Mira found him in the hangar, sitting on a crate and staring at his tools. "You are quiet today," she said gently. Aaron looked up, meeting her green eyes. "Mira, am I causing trouble for you? People whisper, people argue. I don't want to make your life harder." She walked closer, her coat brushing against the crate as she stopped beside him. "Aaron, listen to me. This place is full of voices. Some kind, some cruel. If we let them decide our lives, we will never move. But it's not fair to you," he insisted. Her expression softened, and for a moment she looked almost sad. "Maybe not. But you are not the reason they whisper. They whisper because of their own fear. I will not let their fear decide who I walk with." Aaron felt a weight lift, though the worry didn't vanish completely. He nodded slowly. "Thank you." Mira gave a small smile, then sat beside him on the crate. They didn't speak for a while, just watched the ships rise and fall in the docking bay. And in that silence, something grew between them, something strong, unspoken, but undeniable. The struggles at the neon skyport were far from over. The whispers would not stop. The looks would not fade. But as Aaron and Mira sat side by side, watching the neon glow reflect on steel and glass, they both understood something. They could face the storm, as long as they faced it together. And though neither spoke the word, both felt it deep inside. A bond was forming stronger than the noise of the crowd, brighter than the neon lights above. The hangar was quieter at night. During the day it roared with noise, engines humming, machines lifting crates, mechanics shouting orders. But when most of the skyport went to rest, the hangar shifted into a softer rhythm. Only a few workers stayed behind, finishing late repairs while the vast doors opened to the black of space, letting starlight mix with the neon glow of the skyport. Aaron liked these hours best. He could focus, no one rushing him, no crowd pressing close. That night he sat cross-legged beside an old cargo ship, a small lamp glowing at his side. His hands were smudged with grease, his jacket tied around his waist as he tightened the last bolts on a repaired thruster pipe. The work wasn't easy, but it gave him peace. Machines never whispered, never judged. They simply broke and asked to be fixed. The soft sound of footsteps broke his focus. He looked up and saw Mira approaching, her silver blue skin catching the dim light, her green eyes bright even in the shadows. She carried a small food container in her hands. "You work too late," she said gently. Aaron smiled, wiping sweat from his forehead. "Engines don't keep track of time. They just need fixing." She knelt beside him, placing the container down. "Then you need someone to remind you when to eat," he chuckled. "You didn't have to bring me food." "I wanted to," Mira replied simply. She opened the container, revealing soft bread and warm soup. The smell made Aaron realize how hungry he was. As he ate, they talked. At first, the words were small, about the day's work, the broken cargo lift Aaron had repaired, the traders Mira had translated for. But slowly, the conversation drifted deeper. "Do you ever miss it?" Aaron asked between bites. "Your world, Terea?" Mira's gaze lowered. "Every day. The silver deserts, the way the suns painted the sky in green and gold. I still carry the sound of the waves in my mind. But it is not the same when you know you cannot return." "Why can't you?" Her lips curved into a sad smile. "Because sometimes leaving means the door closes behind you forever. My family chose another path, one I could not follow. So here I am." Aaron didn't push further. He saw the weight in her eyes and he respected her silence. "I'm sorry," he said softly. She shook her head. "Don't be. I have found a place here even if it is not home, and I have found company worth keeping." Her eyes lingered on him for a moment. The warmth in her look made Aaron's chest tighten, though he quickly looked down at his bowl. After finishing the food, Aaron leaned back against the side of the ship, tired but content. "Thank you, Mira, for the meal, for everything." "You thank me too much," she teased. "Then maybe you do too much," he answered with a grin. She laughed quietly, the sound soft and musical. It echoed gently through the empty hangar, mixing with the hum of the engines. Hours slipped by as they kept talking. Mira asked about Earth, about the forests, the rain, the way humans celebrated seasons. Aaron described the golden fields where he grew up, the way stars looked from a quiet farm at night, the simple joy of fixing something broken with his hands. In return, Mira told him about her childhood, running across dunes of silver sand, learning old songs of her people, and watching her world's twin suns rise together in the morning sky. They listened closely, each story weaving an invisible thread between them. At one point, Mira grew quiet. She reached out and brushed her hand lightly across the thruster Aaron had just repaired. "You are different from many humans I have met here. They rush, they fight. They want more than they give. But you work with care. You listen." Aaron's throat felt tight. "Maybe I'm just simple." Her green eyes met his. Simple is not bad. Simple can be honest, strong. Silence fell, but it wasn't empty. It was the kind of silence that carried meaning, that spoke louder than words. Aaron felt his pulse quicken. He wanted to say something. Something about how he felt, about the spark inside him every time she smiled. But fear held him back. Would it be wrong? Would it make things harder for her? When people already whispered? Before he could decide, Mira spoke. "Aaron, do you know what I thought when I first saw you?" He blinked. "What?" "I thought you looked lost. Like someone who had stepped into a storm without an umbrella. But then I saw your eyes. Even when you were lost, they were searching, curious, hopeful. That is why I helped you." Aaron swallowed hard, unsure how to answer. I'm glad you did." She smiled faintly. "So am I." The night deepened and the hangar grew quieter. Most lights dimmed, leaving only the glow of the stars outside and the neon signs flickering across the walls. Aaron stood to test the thruster. The machine rumbled to life, steady and strong. He grinned proudly. "It's good as new." Mira clapped softly. "Well done." When the engine quieted again, they stood side by side, looking at the stars through the wide hangar doors. The vastness stretched endlessly, filled with tiny lights of distant worlds. "Do you ever wonder," Aaron said quietly, "if there's a place out there where we could just belong, without whispers, without walls?" Mira turned her head, studying him. "Perhaps, but maybe belonging is not a place. Maybe it is people." Their eyes met, and for a long moment neither looked away. The hum of the hangar seemed to fade, the neon glow soft against their faces. Something unspoken passed between them, gentle, uncertain, but real. Aaron's heart raced. He wanted to step closer, to bridge the space between them, but he stayed where he was, afraid of breaking the fragile moment. Finally, Mira spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "You should rest. Tomorrow will be long." Aaron nodded, though part of him didn't want to leave. "Yeah, you're right." They walked out together, their steps slow, their silence comfortable. At the door to the East Ring, Mira paused. She turned to him, her green eyes glowing under the neon lights. "Good night, Aaron." "Good night, Mira." She lingered for a heartbeat longer, as if she wanted to say more, then walked away, her figure blending into the glowing crowd. Aaron watched her until she disappeared. His chest felt warm, his thoughts tangled. The skyport was full of noise, trouble, and judgment. But in the quiet of the hangar with Mira beside him, it had felt like the world had paused just for them. He returned to his room, lying on the narrow bed staring at the ceiling. He replayed every word, every glance, every small smile. And in that restless silence he admitted the truth to himself. He was falling for her. Morning came with a restless energy inside the skyport. The neon signs glowed brighter. Traders shouted louder and ships came and went in a hurry. It was one of those days when the whole station felt like it was vibrating, ready to burst. Aaron stood near the main cargo bay, adjusting his toolkit strap as he prepared for another day of repairs. He tried to focus on work, but his thoughts kept wandering back to the night before. The quiet hangar. The starlight. Mira's voice telling him that belonging might be found in people, not places. The memory made him smile faintly, but his smile didn't last long. A group of dock workers stood nearby, whispering and throwing glances at him. At first he ignored it. He was used to stares. Humans like him weren't rare, but being close with someone like Mira always drew attention. Then he caught one of their words. Look at him. Following that alien girl around like a pet. The others laughed quietly. Aaron felt heat rise in his chest, but he forced himself to breathe. He had faced worse before. Still, the words stayed sharp in his mind. He turned away, walking quickly to his station, hoping to let the anger pass. Mira, meanwhile, was working in the central concourse. She was translating for a group of alien traders who had brought in crystal ore from a distant system. Her voice was calm, her manner graceful, but she too felt the eyes of others on her. Some humans looked at her with curiosity, others with distrust. Mira had grown used to it, but today the stares felt heavier. When she finished her task, she spotted Aaron across the concourse. He was checking a cargo lift, his hands busy but his jaw tight. She walked toward him, sensing something was wrong. "Aaron," she said softly, "what troubles you?" He glanced at her, then looked away. "Nothing. Just work." She tilted her head, studying him. "Your voice does not match your eyes," Aaron sighed. He wanted to tell her, but part of him feared making it worse. "It's just, people talk. They don't understand." Mira's expression stayed calm, but her eyes grew sharp. "I know. They whisper to me too. But whispers are wind, Aaron. They cannot change who we are." Before he could answer, a voice rang out behind them. Well, well, if it isn't the Skyport's favorite pair." Aaron turned. It was Kellen, a tall, broad-shouldered worker who always seemed to enjoy trouble. 3 of his friends stood behind him, grinning. Kellen crossed his arms, his tone mocking. "Tell me, Aaron, is she teaching you how to speak alien yet? Or do you just stare at each other all night?" The group laughed. Aaron's fist tightened. "Walk away, Kellen." "Oh? And what if I don't?" Kellen smirked. "You think you belong here, fixing machines, walking around with her like you own the place? You're just a drifter." And she... "Stop!" Mira said sharply, her voice cutting through his words. For a moment, Kellen faltered. Mira's eyes glowed with quiet strength, and her voice carried a weight that silenced the air around them. "You may speak of me," she said, calm but firm, "but do not mistake cruelty for courage." The workers shifted uncomfortably, but Kellen wasn't ready to back down. He sneered. "Careful, alien. Not everyone here thinks you should be part of this place." Before Aaron could step forward, a voice boomed from above. "What's going on here?" It was Chief Ryal, the hangar supervisor, an older man with a deep voice and a sharp gaze. He stepped down the stairs, his heavy boots echoing. Kellen quickly straightened. "Nothing, Chief, just talking." Ryal looked between them, then focused on Kellen. "If you have time to talk, you have time to work. Move those crates before I move you." Kellen muttered under his breath but signaled his friends to leave. As they walked away, he shot Aaron and Mira one last look, full of quiet warning. The tension eased, but only slightly. Mira's shoulders were still stiff and Aaron's heart was pounding. "Are you all right?" she asked. "I should be asking you that," Aaron replied. "I have heard worse," Mira said softly, "but I do not like seeing you pulled into it." Aaron looked at her, frustration burning inside. "It's not fair. You've done nothing wrong. We've done nothing wrong. Why do they care so much?" She touched his arm gently. "Because they fear what they do not understand, and because they see something strong, something they cannot break. That frightens them." Her words calmed him, though the anger still smoldered. He wanted to protect her, to shield her from whispers and cruelty, but he also knew she wasn't weak. Mira carried her own strength. That evening, the Skyport felt heavier than usual. Rumors spread quickly, and Aaron sensed the tension wherever he went. Some nodded at him with respect. Others looked away with suspicion. It was as if an invisible line had been drawn in the crowd, separating those who accepted and those who judged. In the hangar, Aaron tried to bury himself in work. He repaired a shuttle's stabilizers, checked the wiring on a docking panel, and cleaned his tools. But no matter how busy he kept his hands, his thoughts returned to Mira, and to the conflict that now hung over them. Later, she came to him again. Her steps were quiet, but her presence filled the space. "You are troubled still," she said. Aaron nodded. "I don't like this, Mira. I don't like them looking at you like that." "Talking about you like that?" She stood beside him, her gaze steady. "Do you know what I see when they talk?" "What?" "I see weakness in them, not in us. Because they use words to wound, while we use silence to stand." Aaron shook his head. "But silence isn't always enough. Sometimes I want to fight back." Mira placed her hand lightly on his shoulder. "And if you fight, what will change? They will only see anger, and it will prove their fears true. No, Aaron. What we must show them is not anger, but strength of another kind." He looked at her, uncertain. "What kind of strength?" "The kind that does not break when pushed. The kind that shines brighter under shadows." Her words settled deep in him. He realized she wasn't just speaking about herself, she was speaking about them both. About what they could mean to each other in a world that tried to divide them. The next day brought a bigger test. A malfunction struck one of the landing bays. A cargo ship misfired its stabilizers during descent, tilting dangerously toward the hangar. Workers shouted, alarms blared, and chaos spread. Aaron rushed forward without thinking, Mira close behind. "Manual override!" Aaron shouted, running to the control panel. The screen was flashing red, warning of a system failure. He pulled off the cover and began rewiring quickly, his fingers moving with practiced speed. Mira stood beside him, calling out readings from the console. "Power is unstable, stabilizers at 20%. Hold it steady." Aaron gritted his teeth, tightening wires. "Almost there." The ship tilted closer, its shadow covering the workers below. People screamed and scattered. Finally, Aaron connected the last circuit. "Now!" Mira hit the override. The ship groaned, then straightened, stabilizers humming back to life. It landed safely with a heavy thud, the danger passed. The hangar fell silent for a moment, then erupted into cheers. Workers clapped, shouted thanks, and looked at Aaron and Mira with new eyes. Even Chief Raul gave a rare nod of approval. But not everyone cheered. At the edge of the crowd, Kelm stood with his arms crossed, his face dark with resentment. He said nothing, but his glare spoke clearly. This wasn't over. That night, Aaron and Mira stood together outside the hangar doors, looking at the stars once more. "You saved them," Mira said quietly. "We saved them," Aaron corrected. Their eyes met, and for a moment the noise of the skyport disappeared. It didn't matter what others whispered or what lines were drawn. What mattered was the bond growing between them, stronger now, tested by conflict, tempered by fire. Mira's voice was soft but steady. "Do you see now, Aaron? Strength is not in shouting louder than others. It is in standing firm, even when the storm rages." Aaron nodded slowly. "And I'm not going anywhere. Not away from this place. Not away from you." Her eyes softened, a quiet smile forming on her lips. The stars above glimmered. The neon lights flickered. And though the skyport was full of conflict, something far greater was building between them. Something neither whispers nor anger could destroy.